Welcome to the third video in our Payday Planning How-To video series. In this video, we're going to cover the process of tracking your spending against your plan. We'll be continuing from the example in our first two videos, so if you haven't watched those, we recommend you watch those, and then come back to this one. We closed our last video with a successfully balanced plan on this screen. Let's go ahead and tap the Start Tracking link to start the process of tracking our spending. Tapping that will take us to the Track screen. We'll be spending most of the video working from this view, but before we do that, let's review the dashboard by tapping on the Dashboard button at the bottom of the screen. The dashboard will always be the first thing you see when you log into the app. It is a brief snapshot of how your plan is going. Let's walk through it briefly. At the top of the dashboard, you'll see a countdown of how many days you have until your next payday, which is when you'll do the planning process again. In the middle of the screen are 3 progress bars that show how much of your planned spending you have actually spent. This is broken out by the 3 types of spending: fixed, flexible, and optional. Below those progress bars are your next 5 fixed expenses. These serve as a reminder to you to make sure they get paid on time. You'll notice that some of these have a red exclamation point. PDP is telling us that these are past their due date. Let's start our tracking by taking care of those. Tapping on any of the progress bars will take us to the Track screen, filtered to only show us that type. We'll tap on the Fixed progress bar to see all of our fixed items. From this list, we'll tap on the first of our fixed items, the car payment. The Tracking Details screen displays our planning information and allows us to add actual spending to the planned item. For this scenario, let's assume we paid our car payment a day late and are a little later in getting it entered into PDP. We'll tap on the New Spend button to enter the amount we actually paid. We now have 3 areas to look at. First, we can enter a comment. We'll put in a note to remind ourselves that we paid a day late, but shouldn't have a late fee. Next, PDP has given us a default date of today, but we paid it a couple days ago, so we'll update that date here. And finally, we can enter the amount. For fixed expenses, this is usually the same as the plan amount, but it's important to make sure we enter exactly what we spent here. For our car payment, we did pay $301.23, so we'll enter that and tap the Save button at the top of the screen to save what we've done. Back on the Track screen, we'll see that the car payment is no longer at the top of the list. It's now at the bottom under the heading Completed Items. We could still make changes to that if we need to, but PDP assumes we're done with it and moves it out of our way. Now let's enter the actual expenses for our other overdue fixed items. We'll fast forward to that point now. Back at the dashboard, we can see that our fixed progress bar has filled in to show that we've spent that money. We also see that there is only 1 item remaining in our upcoming fixed items area. Let's go back to the Track screen and explore a little. We can get to the Track screen by tapping the Track button at the bottom of the screen. Tapping that button will always get us to the full list of items we have planned. If that is too many, we can filter the list using the Filter button at the top of the screen. We can filter by expense type and by account. So let's imagine that we're looking at our credit card app on another screen, and we want to make sure we've entered everything from there into PDP. We can filter the tracking list by that account, credit card, and we see 3 items, one of which is completed. We could add a filter by type. We'll pick optional, and now we only see 1 item. We can clear a filter by tapping on the close icon next to the filter name. We'll clear the filter on type and get back to looking at our credit card app. We see that we made 2 different charges at the grocery store, so we'll tap on the groceries item to get those entered. Tap the New Spend button to start. This charge was from 2 days ago, so we'll add that in first. We'll pick the date and enter the amount. We spent $25.34. At the bottom, we can see that PDP has updated the amount remaining, doing the math for us. Now we'll tap New Spend again. Notice that PDP puts the blank box at the top of the list to make it easy to enter the new item. We'll assume this charge was from today, and the amount was $19.86. This is all we've spent for groceries, so we'll save this one. We'll go back to the Track list by tapping the back arrow. Notice that groceries has not moved to the completed area. This is because there is still over $1 remaining, so PDP assumes we may have more to spend on that later. Now we look back at our credit card charges and see one from this past weekend. It's for $50 at the quick oil change place. That's right, we needed an oil change in our car but forgot to put that into our plan. That's no problem for PDP. We can select the application menu at the top left and tap on Add Unplanned Spend. Here we enter the description, oil change, and select the account, credit card. We then continue the same way we would for a planned item. Tap the New Spend button, select the date from the calendar, and enter the amount. With that done, we see the remaining field shows us -$50. Let's go ahead and save this to see how PDP handles this situation. We see that PDP knows that we didn't plan for this item, but it offers us 3 choices for how to cover the overspend. First, we can select other planned items to reduce. We can only select from flexible and optional items that have money remaining on them. This is the option we'll use. But let's review the other two options briefly. The Add Money option allows us to tell PDP about money we received since planning that we want to use now to cover this expense. This could be money transferred from a savings account or new money deposited into our account. The final option is to tell PDP to save anyway. The app will save the overspend without adjusting any other items. We'll have to handle that overspend at our next planning. But for this overspend, we're going to reduce items. To start, we'll select the Eat Out item. We really wanted to do that, but the oil change had to be paid. That isn't enough to cover the full overspend amount, so we'll also select to reduce the groceries item. PDP automatically divides the overspend by the number of items we selected. It shows us the new amount remaining in parentheses next to each item. When we're happy with our selection, we'll tap Reduce Items, and PDP will save our oil change item. With these other expenses added, we can see that our progress bars for both flexible and optional have moved. We're now ready to continue tracking. This should be all you need to know to get through your first planning period. In our next video, we'll discuss how to finish one pay period and start the planning cycle again. In the meantime, happy planning!